Rod, if you want to pull up your chair to the hot seat there.
Okay.
You're up.
I want to thank the supervisors for inviting me and being able to present our request. Give you some information here. I think kind of reviewing last year, and me being the new guy, just going to give you a quick overview. Essentially, I think we spent a good amount of time in the interim stage of looking for a new director with a relationship with Iowa State. The plus is that we have a partner that helps with the funding source. The negative is that Iowa State is a big institution.
Thank you.
A big institution with and with big institutions becomes bureaucracy. So I think that slowed down the process. Yeah. I will get you.
No.
Okay. I need to make another copy. Sorry about that.
Okay, just one page?
Yes. Well, here, make me a copy of this. Those are the. Thank you. I apologize for that. So a fair amount of time is spent there. I've been on board since what's been September. Started up in September. And what my focus has been is for the last few months is just kind of seeing where the program has been, trying to get out to the communities, introduce myself, get to know the business a little bit, get to know the other economic organizations. I was able to meet with your group.
Durant Development Group.
Yep, about that first month. So while my head was still spinning a little bit, it was nice to sit down with them and see kind of what they're planning. But that's one of the things I want to continue to do is just to build some credibility and relationships with the communities and continue to move forward from there.
Okay, which ones are you?
This is the one that I was going to.
Do you have an extra? Are there two sheets? Or no, just?
Yeah, yep, thank you.
Okay.
So looking into this next year, understanding where we've been the previous year, and like I said, that we spent some time in the interim looking for a director. One of the things us and the board feel strong about is that we have to create value, and maybe was not as effective as we'd like to have been last year. So we're coming to the supervisors saying that this next year we're freezing our budget to give me some time to establish some credibility and some worth for the organization and for the county. And so if you look at the budget for this upcoming year, we've actually set up a little bit less than the previous year, cut back in a couple areas. There's a few areas we added to only because of one is because I felt that strongly that it should be in there, and the other one is that one of the things we're doing, the board wanted to do, is get some board of directors liability insurance. We couldn't get a solid answer if they were completely covered through the county, and we thought for the minimal amount of additional cost that it was going to take to get it, that we thought we'd get it for the board just for everybody's security and feeling comfortable with it. So that's one of the things we're going to do. We're waiting until the middle of summer to do so because there was some economic reasons to doing so. Basically, they wouldn't prorate, so we have to start with the new year. Otherwise, we would have lost the funding of the insurance for the previous months. The other thing that's added to this that is significant is I put into the budget my office manager, Lisa's director, has the opportunity to be insured through us, through the organization if she wanted health insurance. That was never reflected in last year's budget because she chose not to take it. But since she's always has the opportunity to take it, I felt that it was important to put it in there as a line item. Even if we don't use it, that'd be fantastic. But I think it should be reflected in there that may be an expense. The other additional things that we really did compared to last year is that we kind of repositioned some of the, if you look at in the marketing area. There was two or three projects per se that was loosely defined, and I had and I'm funneling them into more of a what I'm calling is the Cedar County campaign. One of the things I want to pursue and accomplish over this next year is bring some awareness of what Cedco is to the average citizen. I think if you walk to the average person and said, what's Cedco, they might have lived here their whole lives and they have no idea. The name itself doesn't really say anything. I also think that part of this awareness campaign is also bringing awareness that our organization is an asset that supervisors and the communities invest in. And there's a lot of assets in our county that we should recognize and really understand and appreciate, because part of the development cycle is awareness, engagement, followed by investment. If you're not aware of the assets that we have in our county, it's really hard to take that next step. So part of this campaign is to communicate what are the assets of Cedar County. And sometimes when we think about economic development or community development, when we talk about assets, it's easy to think about dollars and cents. But there's a lot of assets in our county that's probably being underutilized. And everything from some of our historic buildings, some of the Hardacre, that is an extremely good asset for our county. And if that gets rehabbed and remodeled, that's something that's going to help the community as a whole, not just the people that own those buildings. So those are assets, everything from our students going to school and investing in them. And I know a lot of money goes into education, but there may be important to have a discussion of what are we educating our students? Are we educating them for the future? Do we educate them and encourage them to be entrepreneurs in our own communities? Or do we educate them to send them to college and go get that job somewhere outside of our county? We have a lot of strong women business owners. Have we really invested in them to be as successful as possible? Is there things that we can do? Is there resources out there we can bring within the community to help them be successful? Because I think one of the things as you look at the economic marketplace at this point in time is that the real trend is really understanding that most economic development happens on the local level. That's where a lot of the businesses get started. That's where a lot of the growth comes. And the communities that are doing a good job of growing their own, so to speak, are the ones that seem to be having more success. And I think that's one of the things that as the program brings awareness to these assets, then we can start having a conversation. Where do we want to invest and how do we want to invest? And like I said to Don earlier, I think one of the things that I feel like it's really my responsibility is to make your guys' job easier. So when people say, well, why are you investing in Cedco? Hopefully we can create a good enough conversation. Instead of saying, why are you investing in Cedco? They understand what Cedco is, and they'll say, well, this is what Cedco should be doing too. Or this is how Cedco can help. You guys don't have to justify your votes if people are already part of the program and interested in the program. And so I feel really strongly that over this next year, if I can get that type of awareness and working with partners and business partners and city partners, that we can start moving the discussion from should we be investing in this stuff to how best to invest in this stuff. And that's where engagement starts. And as we start there, then us as an organization, we can start looking on how to invest. Do we offer classes? Do we offer entrepreneurship? Do we offer entrepreneur the opportunity to help them with their business plans? There is resources out there like revolving loan funds. Do we help them write grants to get these revolving loan funds? Those are the things we can do once we get engagement. And then byproduct of that is the investment. So that's kind of the State of the Union address from my point of view. As far as the budget, like I said, request this year is the same as last year. We're not asking for any additional. One of the things that we want to do is to utilize those funds and show that we can create value for you.
So the 925 that's on here under the Kirkwood Workplace Learning Connection, that's what we were talking about this morning?
Yeah.
That's the same amount that you budgeted in the past, the 925? Okay.
Have you worked much with that workplace development?
I think the first week I was here, I met up with the group and talked to them a little bit, and I do think that's a great partnership for moving forward. And I think that's one of the things that, most of the organizations I've worked with up until now, and even when I was doing my own consulting, money was a real premium. And trying to find ways to do things with limited fiduciary assets, I feel pretty proud that I've figured out how to do a lot of those stuff. And partnership is a great way of doing it. Working with people and working with groups. And I think what's great about that is that you start with small projects, everybody's a winner, then you get to go, you're more apt to try the bigger one once you have those relationships built and belief in each other. So I think historically, it's one of the things that I truly believe in. If we can do something really well and doesn't cost a lot, that's fantastic. And so I try to be conservative when it comes to utilizing funds, because I'm a strong believer. I know that people who pay my salary is the person walking down that street when it all's said and done. I have to answer to you guys, but ultimately I think the citizens of the county is the final customer.
Well, now they got that gal working out here at Kirkwood, Alicia, her first name. She's here, so if there's somebody local here. Before there was, not that I know, there was anybody local here.
And again, it goes back to that what I was saying earlier about the economic development and community development. That interconnection is becoming very, very obvious, and you create a community rich with resources and assets, and a place that people want to live. I mean, that's the great thing about this technological revolution that we're going through, which is, and said it the other night, it's the transformation that we're going through right now is as big as the world has ever seen. It doesn't feel like it, but it's bigger than the Industrial Revolution. The way in which businesses is going to change over the next 5 to 10 years, and how a lot of these businesses these whole industries aren't going to exist that we grew up with. Ma Bell and all that, that's become a wireless. They've become a internet company. They've become a cable company. The phone is not even part of their lexicon except for this, and the impact is just now starting to be seen, and it's going to impact us even more. Which it's that old old Chinese curse, may you live in interesting times. And we're living in very interesting times, and reminds me of the other thing is perhaps, is it good or bad? Perhaps, but the good news is, you basically with this, you can do your job anywhere. That's good and bad news. The bad news is they can do it in the mountains of Colorado, but you also can do it here. And the great thing about a community like this, it is very family oriented. So if we give people reasons to want to stick around, they generally do.
So you signed up to take that class, the 100 and 700 we talked about?
Yes.
On Friday or Saturday?
Yes.
Not this one, next?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I think I'm taking it on Friday, and Lisa's going to take it on Saturday.
I have a question for you about, I know when I first started in business about 15 years ago, we had a woman that worked basically in a position named Karen Sateka, and she was very good at helping with business plans and that kind of thing. Are you comfortable with helping small business startups with business plans, or are you more interested in farming that out?
Yes.
Yes, all the above?
Because
that's what I run into in small towns is, well, I have this idea, I have this business I want to start, but I don't know how to go to the bank, and I don't know how to go to SBA, and what's out there for me. And the first thing they ask for is, do you have a business plan?
Right.
And if they don't have a business plan, they don't know how about going about getting a business plan, that's that first step for them.
One of the things that I would like to, and don't ask me for a timeline, but one of the things I would like to is kind of create a entrepreneur boot camp. And so go through the boot camp, and then afterwards, if you go through the process and you're committed to it, then that's one in which I feel comfortable in working with someone to help them build a business plan. Working in economic development for a while, I know a lot of people have a hope and a dream, and that's fantastic, but they're unwilling to put in the work.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think something like that, it's great to have a filtering process in which you can, and there's already resources out there, but I think there's ways in which we might be able to contribute to that. But I think there is important to have a filtering process. Not you come to me or someone else comes to me and there's a high degree of credibility right now. Yeah, I'd still be willing to help them right now. But I think the person can spend a lot of time creating stuff for other people that's never gets utilized.
I think it's important that they create it themselves, but sometimes it's a case of just knowing how to go about it and to know where to go.
Yeah, it just within the, I've sent out, I've been approached by two different individuals, one looking to do a restaurant and one looking to do a flower shop since I've been on board. And in both cases, I sent them copies of someone else's. I said, this isn't a template by any means, but this is how you do it. If you have more questions, come back to me. And I think that's a way in which I kind of manage that process a little bit, in which if they are interested, then they do come back. Then you realize that how much more resources to put into it.
With your affiliation with the University of Ames, would there be a way that their expertise could be brought in for annual seminars to catch these people interested in developing their business plan?
Utilizing the resources of Ames, and I think this is a new relationship on a certain level for the organization, a new relationship definitely for me, working with this Ames. They have a lot of resources. I think one of the challenges with the resources is that they're kind of their schedule is very dependent upon the students' schedules, and so that creates certain challenges. But I think that utilizing their expertise and already initiating some of those expertise and some of those resources really makes sense from my point of view. And then they want to assemble a relationship in which I give back, and that's something in which I think if I can help them create a kind of a retail outlet for those services, it's something that a template they can use to other communities. And I think lots of times with be it the state or even the university, it's just not knowing those resources exist. It goes back to asset awareness, and I think that's one of the other things I can do is start saying, okay, here's some assets that we can use and bring to the communities. Because they do some good work as far as helping communities understand budgets. When they get a whole new election cycle in, a bunch of new people come in, and realizing the complexity there, they're a good resource for that, and I wasn't even aware of them until just recently that they would come in there and do that stuff.
Okay. Any more questions, comments for Ron?
Insults? Not yet?
Well, thank you very much.
No, thank you. And my mom taught me it's never good to ask for something unless you're willing to give something. So, part of.
Gonna give us dollars?
Every time I go to the gas station.
I got two of these.
Basically, just a couple things. One is just a quick thing about economic gardening, and it just talks about local investment and the importance of it. It's a nice term that someone else came up with, and I kind of wished I did. And the other one is a book called Hollowing Out the Middle, and I think it's a really strong reflection of, and I probably might have to make.
I can give it, I can get copies later.
But it came out in 2010 by a couple sociologists, and it's a really good overview of what's happening in our small rural communities when it comes to the asset of our best and brightest students.
You can give them to her, I'll get
Okay.
copies of them.
And I would just, if you're interested, I would encourage you guys to read it. I think their solutions are a little bit pessimistic and a little, sociologists are good researchers, but not necessarily good answers. But it's really eye-opening of, oh, yeah, we are doing this. And so, for what it's worth, I think, like I said, I think part of my responsibilities is create that dialogue, and that's one that I actually look forward to. So thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rod.
Yep.
Wilton Development come in at 1:30?
Wilton Development, I believe they are coming. I think they sent Don a little note that said they'd be here.
Airport
What'd
hasn't
you
called
need?
back yet?
No, I don't, but you can take it down to City Hall and they'll charge you just a minimum amount to send it.
Yeah, they are now.
They'll come on Thursday, they could come in.
I mean, like
It'll be in
cents.
the late afternoon.
Hi, how are you?
Oh, no.
Dave?
Yeah, 2:45.
How are you?
Dave?
Still vertical, put one foot in front of the other one.
There you go. That's good attitude.
Don't you have your paycheck stuff?
You 61 yet?
End of March.
I'll see what I can
Is that a
do.
magic number?
Huh?
Is that a magic number?
We're getting there.
Yeah, thanks.
Pretty
Yes,
sad.
for the past 3 months.
Hi. Long time no see. Yeah.
I'll see what I
Good.
can do.
Good.
Egyptian guy.
No problem. Talk to you later.
I think I
Bye.
did hear that you were over in Wilton. Yeah. Well, it's good to see you. Yeah.
Take care.
Yeah. See, there's that kumbaya moment that I was talking about.
You can pull up in the hot seats there.
What's that?
You can pull up in the hot seats.
I thought we
Oh,
were in
we're
the
on the
hot seat.
hot,
Blue hot.
you want us in the hot
Yeah.
seat? Okay. Do you need copies? Did you get copies?
You got copies?
Yeah, I think I have mine. No, I don't think I
Yeah.
do.
I didn't make copies.
We got it, we have them.
We
No.
have 'em. We have 'em. We have 'em.
Sometimes I do, and then we end up with a whole bunch.
One, you, that's yours.
Oh, okay.
That set is yours. I have one set for everybody here.
I'll just pass them down here.
Oh, okay.
No.
You can do it?
Oh, you don't want me to give it to Wayne? Okay.
Thank you. You have another one?
have
Or I
another?
can- you can
There's a bunch right there.
Oh, okay.
Brad's just being a
Brad's
little
being
slow.
Holding up.
I know you're
Is the
not,
one
you said
stapled
after
together?
lunch, you said you didn't lunch.
No,
Brad.
there's a letter stapled and then, yeah,
Underneath.
yeah.
Now,
Okay.
He's got it, so.
You got enough?
Yep.
Alright.
There are none.
Okay. You have one?
Yeah, I do.
Well, we're here on behalf of Wilton Development Corporation, obviously. And, we were here last year and we got a little bit of a support from you. We were back and asking for support again, and last year we were gracious enough to receive $500 from the Cedar County Board, and they're asking for $1,000 this year. And I guess to give a little update, the water and sewer project from Wilton to be extended to the Rest areas is well underway this year. If you've been down that way, there's a bit of mud in the ditch. I hope you have a lot of grass so you can take care of that when they get all done. But that will open up an avenue for further development, easier development going north of Wilton on up to the interstate. So we're looking forward to that, and looking forward to working with some more with Cedar County in regards of attracting businesses and industry to the area. We do have a project right now we're working on that will have an impact on Cedar County if we are awarded it. That's about all I can say about that right now. But currently working very hard on that. We should know, I'm told, within a week whether we're selected or not, but as things go in those regards, I sometimes have found out that a week can turn into 3 months pretty quick. So, but and I'm sure Dawn's seen that happen in Durant. So
especially if the state's involved at all.
Yeah. Fortunately, the state has minimal involvement in this one at this time. Fortunate or unfortunate, whichever way you want to look at that, I guess. But yeah, you're exactly right. So, and sometimes it just takes longer on the business's part to make that decision. Becky's put together the budget and everything included in there. If you've got any questions, certainly ask away.
We do use the workforce numbers from Cedar County, along with Muscatine County. We need to do that because, of course, our workforce doesn't just come from Wilton. It comes from all over the area.
Yeah, and like we stated last year when we were here, there's a lot of Cedar County residents, I think, work in the neighboring counties, but a lot of them work in just across the border in the Muscatine County. I guess HWH would be a prime example of somebody that Wilton's worked with, and they've got their business out here on the interstate, but they also have facilities in Wilton, and we work back and forth with both ends of their facilities on that if they're doing expansions and so on.
I think the key is of partnering, and that's what we do, and that's what I think we do best here in Iowa, and certainly in our counties and our state and our cities and school districts and whatever. Try to partner to make it good for all of us so we can keep all our young people back. We are working on 3 major initiatives along with our industry prospects, and that would be the Skilled Workforce Initiative, where we're working with the MCC and the Eastern Iowa Community College. And that would be for traditional students and non-traditional students with our manufacturing plants. So Gerdau is going to be the great flight here pretty soon because they came in the 70s, and those people are all going to retire. So we need to get our young folks into the trades. With trades are where we need, the workers, and they get paid more than teachers, right, Jeff? So we're working that with the junior colleges, especially MCC. And then, of course, we have the downtown revitalization, and you've seen that, and we're putting that on the National Historic District. All that information, we had to go through every building, have all the history of every building, and then we gave that to our historian, and so she's working on it right now. The ball's in her court, and hopefully we'll be on the list. The downtown district will be on the list at summer, and then I'll work on my house that I just bought. So anyway, from that then we're going to have an all-school reunion in 2016 because they're going to tear down our old elementary school, and so we'll have one last dance there before it's gone. And of course our prospects, our industrial prospects. So we don't do this with this tunnel vision. We do it with, the area vision. So we just need your help to keep moving on.
Okay, any questions or comments for me?
You've definitely taken a step up in quality of the supervisor's delegate that comes to your meeting.
Yeah, Dawn, she'll come, huh?
We
Jeff?
we took note of that.
I figured I might as well said it. I know you were thinking it, Dave.
And I might be running a little late tomorrow. Because I've got a meeting in Davenport that Wayne has given me permission to sneak out of early, so.
Your life is just a lot of meetings
Uh,
now, right?
it's
Yeah,
really
yeah,
evolved with that,
yeah,
believe me.
yeah.
But, no, I look forward to
Oh, good.
participating.
And then you can get updated on the projects that we're doing. Great.
Okay, I guess if there's no questions, no comments or anything, take it under advisement, we'll let you know on the budgeting request, so.
All right.
We get all the requests in and
I
see what
know.
our budget
See where
says,
you're
so,
at.
Yeah,
I
that's
got
right,
it.
so.
I understand.
Okay, real fine. Thank you.
Okay. Thank
folks.
you.
Thank you.
Dave, you know who's coming in for the fair board?
I thought that was this morning.
It was.
They
But
didn't
nobody
show up?
showed up.
No.
Want to sit down, Dave? Go sit back down. Sit back down and
No,
talk.
I'd rather make a phone call first. Okay. Thank you for letting me
Yep.
know that.
Should I just sit here and wait?
No, no.
Oh, okay.
No. I'm not prepared to talk on behalf of them with any kind of paperwork, so I need to have I'll have a chit chat.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, sir. We're ahead of schedule. Thanks, Greg.
I'll do 15 minutes for them. Well, I won't be here. I'll put a note on
Down Drainage District, not supposed to be doing that, really, so wait for the bankers show
I
up.
went and made a copy for you, but they didn't
Steve's
give me
meeting
my
with
copy
Sand
back.
right now, and they're coming to the Sandy building.
Oh, okay.
And they're all coming.
That's all right.
I wrote on this and I shouldn't have wrote on
They
it.
buzzed
I'm
them to see
terrible
if
at
they were
that.
coming in.
This needs to go to Carrie. It is Trevor Conrad's transcripts for the first semester so he can get his scholarship. Give it to Carrie or you want it?
Carrie.
Okay.
No, Carrie.
Yeah, doesn't she send the checks?
Oh, duh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, that's me.
Okay. Well, I didn't know if it needed to go to her or if there was somebody that was actually on that particular
I am.
committee.
Let me,
All it is that he went to school and what his grades are. It's his I told her just to get a copy of his transcript. It didn't have to be a certified copy. Yeah, I mean, he's doing great,
yeah,
so.
sorry. I looked at it.
Okay. All right, I'll give it to her when we get done. Actually.
Probably can write it out now.
Those are your pictures there.
It was just giving my excuse to come back in here and talk with you guys. See you later.
So, how's that going? Okay.
Let's go out and see it.
Pretty interesting. They just dump a ton of polyurethane over that, or what did they do?
I think so. Yeah, that was pretty neat.
I was gonna say, it'd take gallons, I would think, because
I think that's
you
what
gotta be
they
able to
did.
seal it.
Mhm.
Looks neat.
It's really unique.
I wonder how much liability insurance you have to have if a trunk gets up and falls off.
I don't know.
On what?
On the second story where they have the bar tables upstairs, how that works.
I would imagine they've jacked up that liability.
I wouldn't wanna be dealing with it. Maybe we should ask John that. So how's that work for liability insurance on a bar when you've got a second story with open rails like that?
Need somebody to write it. Work on loss control.
Dodge City probably has some records on that.
It's neat.
pictures of?
That's of that bar up there.
That one?
That bar off of Highway 30.
Okay. Were you up there?
Mm-mm. Brad had them. I don't know if he
What's
was
that?
up there or if he. Did you take pictures or somebody give them to you?
No, he gave them to us that
I
day.
thought, Dawn, you're up there quite a bit, 3 or 4 times a day.
Oh,
or a
yeah.
week, aren't you?
Sure, certainly. I'm just the world's biggest drinker. Right up there with the 3 packs a day I smoke. No, if it was a candy store, it'd be a different
That's kinda
story.
neat. You see him, Jeff? Did you want to see him, Jeff?
Oh, I'll look at it.
So did you see him for the inauguration?
No.
You and Vicki didn't there?
No. It's, I don't do
That's
that.
where they had him at the
I
zoning
lose votes when I
hearing.
do.
Well, I don't know.
I have no rhythm.
Oh,
Right where
Blaine
Brad-
said to tell Bobby that if he ever gets bored and just needs to get away from those guys for a while, he can call him and he'll be happy to
Okay.
pick him up
There are times
when you have just enough of it.
there's enough house, there's enough hiding places in there. Once you're there for a little bit, you know where the hiding places are, you can just go and.
Have a little
just-
downtime.
Yeah, just,
Get your head together.
yep.
It is a little noticeable after lunch.
Yeah.
But if that oak tree dies, that ruins everything, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
My parents' farm is right down the road from that,
Which way?
to the east,
How much?
less than a mile.
Listen,
But
on the north side of the road?
that's right, well, they have ground on this side of the road.
Your brother's still
Remember
farming,
my
isn't he?
dad taking me up there when a call, I think Arnie Call lived there and they had a fire one day. What?
Your brother's still farming?
Yeah.
Now, just to the north of that, the next
Yeah.
place, to the, on the west side of the road, wasn't that,
Jim Myers.
there you
used to
go,
live
I
there.
thought so. Where's that, what's that now?
Is there still a house there?
I don't know.
I haven't been out there for a while.
North of there?
Somebody still lived there.
On the east side of the road or the west side?
West side, that used to be Jim Myers' dad, used to
That,
write
that
that.
house burned down, wasn't it? Didn't Gettleman's son?
No, that's to the south. You're thinking,
Oh,
he's
okay,
going north.
Okay.
Or
Well, I
you-
think there's a church, there's a, like a mobile home in there.
Could be.
Yeah, Lawrence and Lois Luther lived in that one that burned.
Yeah, and that, we're sure his son got killed in one of them. Yeah, on the south, north on the west side, no, that, I think there's a modular home or trailer home or something like that.
Wasn't very big acreage, was it? Like maybe an acre?
I have any further going, do you want me to pause it?
Yeah.
Choir's
So that's
during.
adjourned to the Sandwich Drainage District.
So moved. I'll second.
Okay, motion by Bell, second by Smith, roll call. Bell.
Aye.
Smith.
Aye.
Gal.
Aye.
Kaufman. Aye. And Beaver Guy. We're in Stanwood Drainage District. The bankers are up. Have you been meeting with the people?
Yes.
So you found out what's going on?
Well, we heard one version of
Okay. Well, that's the only version we know too. And I take it that's our auditor there.
D.
D. Some questions on it?
Well, I guess my response, speaking for ourselves, is, we were asked by the county to consider buying warrants. And so we made a proposal to the county after having reviewed it with your attorney and your engineer and a cursory review of the law, and thought our proposal worked pretty well. And I think it would. But what I'm hearing is that we need to tailor this to fit a software product and the normal accounting process for tracking ins and outs for the county. So we may be at an impasse on our proposal. So and I'm not prepared today to say whether I want to hold small warrants for 20 years. I personally don't think that's necessary, but if the county decides it is, then for our bank's perspective, we need a couple days to think about it.
Well, the way I understand it, that we would not be paying the bills as they come in. We pay like once a month off of our regular claims, and they'd be for big warrants. That was what I understood.
Yeah, but I think the code section describes the method of paying invoices, and I think it is a monthly process.
To pay
you have
invoices.
I think you're supposed to approve every single invoice on a monthly basis.
Yes.
So I don't think that gets in the way.
Dee, do you have something to add?
Because I guess the way it was working, it was sort of a hybrid between a stamped warrant and a bank loan or long-term debt. But it doesn't flow through the county system right, because like if you write a warrant to the bank, like when you publish the bills, it'll look like all the drainage payments are to the bank and not to the vendor for the actual dollar amount that they're being paid. And I guess what we were recommending is either stamped warrants, dollar for dollar, and then it would flow through the system like normal, or like a drainage warrant certificate, and then it would be like issuing any other type of long-term debt where it could flow through the system right. I guess it's sort of the hybrid system. I think it's going to end up a lot of sort of off accounting system reconciliations, and then the reports aren't going to be accurate. The monthly publications for the bills isn't going to be accurate. There's a lot of things that are going to have to be sort of done in addition to the software.
So you're saying that their proposal would not work?
Not easily. I mean, they could, but it's going to be a lot of additional reconciliation for the auditor side and the treasurer side.
And I take it the auditor and the treasurer don't want that extra responsibility or extra work?
Probably not really.
Well, can I just interject one more time,
yes,
and then I'll go home. You get an invoice from a contractor, and once you approve it, you write a check for that invoice. So that's a pretty clear accounting process. That check to the contractor is for the exact amount of the invoice once you've approved it. The county has authority to issue warrants drawn against the drainage district fund, and I'm submitting that the warrant warrant is just a bad check. You write a check you don't have money for, right? If you're going to write a bad check, you might as well write it to the bank as to the contractor. And you stamp it, you make it good, we collect the interest. We're not doubling up on transactions. It's just that for every time you have to pay up to $10,000 of invoices, you write a check to the bank to fund that. And I don't think anything gets lost in the mix, but that's up to you. That's up to you.
In my opinion, the county would just deposit the warrants into their checking account, and I would think that the disbursements from the checking account would be what gets reported to the public in the paper. But I don't know how the system works. So.
Yeah. Actually, the checks come from my side, so it's whoever I make the check payable to. So the check would actually be published, it would be stating it went to Bridge Bank. And
for the warrant.
For then Sandy then, how it originally was set up, then we would receive a check from you guys, deposit, and then Sandy would have to be writing out all the initial checks to all the vendors. where normally everything just runs through the auditor side for who we are really paying, just for historical reasons, it's accurate information going out, but.
I guess I'm not up on the whole thing, I mean, involved in it. The way I understand was that, and again, you can correct me, but the way Hudson kinda explained it, that even if there's work, the auditor and the treasurer can charge for this extra work also, can't they, to the Stanwood Drainage District? I guess.
The drainage district can authorize that sort of thing, where you need additional help. And I think that's the step that's getting missed in this. The drainage, this is a drainage district. This is an entity, and the auditor is an agent for the drainage district. So why we're mixing auditor accounts and treasurer accounts sounds more like habit to me than the way it's supposed to be. But again, it doesn't make any sense for me to argue to talk you into doing something I'm not, looking for a 20-year interest rate risk to begin with. So, but the alternative that the D mentioned, which was always an alternative, was to issue certificates. And I think the only reason that topic didn't come up was because Jim's just familiar with warrants. He thought this would work, and he didn't think you needed to go to the level of issuing certificates, but it would be essentially the same thing.
Well, the way I understand it, that if Carrie would pay say the bill is $9,000 and she wants $10,000, you guys want $10,000 warrants, that we'd be carrying a $1,000 balance in that account until we pay some more bills or need some more money. And the way I understand, Dee, we can't have a credit or a debit in that account?
Well, because the fund, it would look like in the accounting system that you've already paid the $10,000,
Mm-hmm.
even though you've only really paid $9,000. But the warrant was written for $10,000, so that's where it looks like the whole expense was made when it really wasn't. So that 1,000 is just sort of an off accounting system reconciliation. It's not flowing through anywhere, and it makes it look like the expenses won't be really accurate, and like if you ever needed it for historical reasons, you wouldn't know how much was paid vendor by vendor because it's just all to bridge to the bank.
It'd be a lot of bookkeeping.
Yeah.
We could do it, but there'd be a lot of bookkeeping involved in it.
Yeah.
Because you could carry the $1,000 over till next month and then get another $8,000 bill, you might get another $10,000 warrant, then you have $2,000 in credit, right?
Yeah.
So who was going to be paying the vendors?
The treasurer's office.
And you said we won't have any record of that.
It doesn't flow through like when the auditor writes a warrant.
Because she has a separate checkbook that she wrote out.
And nobody keeps track of that extra checkbook?
Usually the only thing that goes through there is like refunds,
tax sales.
not regular county disbursements. They don't usually go through the treasurer's office.
But if they were to, wouldn't they be reported?
I suppose we try to have like a published list of auditor's warrants and treasurer's checks.
Who's the official bookkeeper for the drainage district? Why does it have to be both? I don't quite understand.
Well, the auditor handles the disbursement side and the treasurer handles the receipt side.
For taxes, for the
For-
taxes coming back into, or the,
Well, that, yeah,
basically the assessments coming back in to pay for the project.
Believe it or not, we did this to make it easy. And it would be. In the code section, the drainage district code section specifically talks about what you do with excess funds. I mean, the notion that you're going to do a $2.4 million project with a zero balance isn't how this is going to shake out. again, I talked myself into a corner, so
Well-
I'm going to an Iowa State game.
I'm under the same confusion because I'm coming from a municipal side. And when we do a project like this, whether it's 2 million or 4 million or whatever it is, we do what's called cash payouts or pay applications. And it would have to run through our contractor, but basically the contractor pays all of the subcontractors out and gives you one bill. And it's maybe the project is divided up into 5 increments. You might have 5 cash payouts or pay applications as they call them. Then you're only tracking the 5 payouts. It's up to the contractor to pay out the subcontractors. And then wouldn't that be easier to track the warrants that way or the cash flow that way?
Yes.
Can that be done at the county level? I don't know why.
You're backtracking into a contractor's
Issue.
reward and so forth that we've already
Probably.
rewarded. We've already accepted
Their
the
way of
banker's
doing it.
proposal, so now we're going backwards on that. I don't like it because I know when the bankers came in and talked to us about this, we asked the questions, is this gonna work?
And they told us it would.
Investigate it, make sure it's gonna work, and then we find out later that it's not working after the fact, and we've already, there was a deadline that we wanted this done by, so that we would have that answer, so when they came forth with theirs, and then we put it out for bid, and we got the bids, and awarded the bids, we would have a straight up answer to give those contractors. And we thought we had that, now we're going backwards.
Well, from our perspective, we can unwind the transactions we've done so far. I appreciate your comments because I think that's true. I think what you're saying is absolutely right. We've made a proposal based on what we knew, and I would say it's workable, but it's just you guys have to decide that.
And we had the discussion about the extra accounting that might be necessary, and we also agreed that we could go to an outside firm to do that accounting if necessary. But apparently that's not going to work.
It's not going to work, D? Going to an outside firm?
Part of the problem though is that the reports that are being generated aren't going to be accurate. Unless you had sort of 2 claims that are published, the software one and then an additional one that to cover all the drainage. But I don't know how that would work either. And then you could have like a line item on the semi-annual report for the reconciling. It'll be sort of cobbled together.
Guess we've never cobbled anything in this county before.
This whole project is cobbled together.
Well, Bob, you said you wanted to think about it for a few days or something first? Or?
Well, if your decision is that we've got to come back and make a proposal on this notion that we have to have a check written for the exact amount of each invoice, and then we buy that check effect, then I think we all individually need to decide what our level of interest is. And Nick's not here today, so we at least need to give him an opportunity to figure out what he wants to do.
Well, the way I understand it, though, you wouldn't issue a warrant for each bill. Carrie would pay all the bills, and she'd add them all together, the way I understand it, wouldn't you, Carrie? Add for all the bills for that month together. If they come to $50,000, you'd go to him and say, we need $50,000, right? He wouldn't make a warrant for each contractor, would he?
Well, that's what's being said, is that
A
A
one-to-one
true
match.
stamp warrant is, I'm going to pay the bill, I'm going to stamp that warrant, send it to that contractor. but that's not how everything was set up. And that contractor would go find someone to pay who would want to buy that warrant from him. That is what a true warrant is,
Okay.
from all my knowledge that I'm learning through all this.
But what if the county would pay all the everything that's due that month, if we pay the whole thing that month? And then you go to the bank and say all the contractors come to you and they got $24,000 worth of bills, and you pay that $24,000 that month. You go to the bank and say, I need $24,000. Can you do it that way? Maybe it's $24,050 or something like that. But then you'd only be going to them once a month to get money for the whole thing, for the whole month? Could you do that, Dee?
And more like advance on line of credit, right? Yeah.
Sort of, but if you were, I guess, the thing that we were sort of concerned about was that, are you gonna get it dollar for dollar then? Or is it gonna be, like you needed 24,000 and you have to get 30,000?
Well, I guess I'd ask Bob that then.
Well, again, apparently we've got two different Iowa code sections that conflict, apparently. I didn't know they did. But the drainages and code section was actually revised effective July of 2014 that specifically addressed $5,000 and upwards. So it clearly anticipates warrants that don't necessarily match up with a contractor invoice. So,
if I'm understanding what Wayne's saying, Bob, if they came to us and said once a month and said, okay, this month we need 28,000, next month we need 53,000, we don't really care if they're even increments, do we?
No.
If we ended up over a 2.5 or a 2-year period on this project with 24 warrants for varying amounts, we can deal with that. We just don't want 500 warrants for $1,000 here and $2,000 there and another $3,000 there.
Well, we've already bought a $74 one, and now it's going to get paid off one of the earlier ones, so we'll get rid of it. But actually, I like his concept better because we have fewer warrants, not more, right?
You mean the once a month thing?
Yes.
But again, I'm not sure that works for this.
For the auditor's office or the treasurer's.
Would that work, Dee, if we just pay all the bills?
And you're saying issue one warrant then for the month?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that warrant we'd take to the bank, and it might not be an even amount. It might be for oddball money or something, but that's the money we'd need to pay, and then Carrie or Sandy could pay all the warrant or all the statement or all the bills that come in that month for the contractor.
And they would equal.
And
those two
and
amounts
be
would
equal.
equal.
Yeah.
So it'd be dollar for dollar.
And then, everything.
Would that work?
That would work a lot better, yes. The only thing you'd want to consider, though, is then when you go to redeem them, it'll take longer to collect up the money to pay one big one instead of paying off, several little ones. But if that's not an issue.
But that's what the banks are willing to accept that, and that's what.
It is, but and I don't want to shoot myself in the foot here, but I don't see that's a distinction without a difference, because who's the $50,000 warrant going to be written to?
Could you write warrants to the vendor so it gets published accurately?
You could do that.
And then void it in the system and have one to the bank, or maybe not void it, but you see what I'm saying, where it'll be published.
Be exchanged.
Be published to the actual vendor for the actual dollar amount, and then it'll be, all the publishing will be accurate, and then sort of exchange it, or one for the bank to hold. That might work.
If you can do that, we're in. Okay.
So I pay all the vendors.
And then it would run through claims and everything and be published accurately.
They'd be stamped one, give them to the bank, even though they're just one lump sum of 30 grand. It's not per.
And then let the bank have one warrant to them for all of that bundle, I guess you could.
I'd be paying them twice a month.
But it would run through the system to the vendors, but then that might work.
We'd have to blend it that way. To me, I'd be paying them twice.
With this big of a,
Or get paid out through me.
Like sort of like reissue, reissuing those, that first batch, and it's just one.
Okay.
So they have one that would be published with everyone that you're being paid.
Okay.
That might work.
Okay.
with this big of a project, I could see where one month, there might be $500,000 or maybe a couple $100,000. And like Dee said, we'd have to save up the money to pay off that whole warrant then, right?
Yeah, you're better off with our proposal. It works the same way, and then you can cancel warrants faster. But my life's okay if you do it in one.
Well, the way I understand it, we can't have a debit or a credit on that account by the accounting of the counties, right?
It would make your books not accurate, put it that way.
So if we take it,
There would, there would have to always be this sort of off the accounting software reconciliation to get to what it actually is. And then you'd still have the issue about that it's not being published accurately and the reports aren't.
More room for error.
Yeah, and it wouldn't run through normal procedures either, but.
well, I guess I could ask Carrie and Gary back there, would that work for the county? If you
I
just-
need to check the solutions. I cannot tell you right now.
What solutions got to do with it? Their
Because it's their
program?
program. You're telling me you want me to pay these vendors, and then in return, Dee's saying there's a possible way we could reissue them after they get, and then it would go to the bank. I'm not a programmer, I don't know, but I will see if it will work.
But the bankers would be agreeable to something like that?
Yeah, that works for us.
Gary? Duh.
If it works, yep. Sandy will spend extra nights staying here getting them to.
Well, it's unfortunate that we have solutions holding this over us.
Exactly.
And I think that we could hire an outside accounting firm to handle this for us if necessary, outside of solution software.
We
I would
could, but
agree.
everything has to run through our financial reports because Stanwood Drainage is in there.
Because we got to collect the taxes to pay them off.
It's an agency fund, so it has to be included on all my financial reports. If they weren't, that would be the easiest thing possible.
So can't you add if they're not correct, you add a supplement, and if anybody wants detail, and it can be supplied by the accounting firm? And at the end, when you're all done with the project, well, let's say it's 2017, the project's done, we know exactly what the cost is, all the warrants have been paid, we have the total amount. Can it, and we're starting to assess, can it be corrected at that point?
Final dollar, and then get it balanced right there.
But we'd
before you put the assessments out.
But we'd have a supplemental, accounting, whoever it would be, that would have it all, so there wouldn't be the discrepancy as far as what actually is going on. Nobody'd be getting by with anything, but your reports may not be completely accurate.
Dee, you're not speaking.
I guess when the code section though says about publishing, I don't know that you could just sort of have a line saying, basically, this isn't accurate, but additional information is available upon request or something.
Well, there's no reason we couldn't publish that. That additional information.
Have
As an addendum to the.
portions and the additional one?
And any extra cost of publishing that, of course, is gonna be borne by the drainage district, and it wouldn't be like we're hiding anything, it would be all out there. And I would bet you that there's probably nobody but a banker that even reads those.
So are you gonna check the solutions then to find out?
I think we're far enough into it, we have to make it work. Because of what's been guaranteed to the contractors and how deep we are into the process, we gotta make it work somehow.
And we still appreciate the bankers.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
Trying to make this work.
Well, now it's up to us to make it try to work now.
Well, we can still be flexible, but what I think we want to do is make this simple. I agree with John. I think we're structuring something to fit the software product rather than what we're trying to accomplish. And so, for whatever that's worth, thank you.
Okay. We'll let you know.
Thank you.
Good luck, Cyclone.
I am good, but I'll
Good idea.
Thanks, Ron. Okay, Carrie and Gary, do you have anything else?
No.
Dee, you have anything else? Sandy, Angie?
I just want it to work. I just want the auditors to.
I love that drainage.
Thank you.
I just want to pass the audit.
Dave Morse at Shanker be contacting you.
Okay. Is there anything else coming from the Stanwood Drainage District? Gotta wait till we hear back from Solutions. Any more discussion on it? If there is none, I'd entertain a motion. Yes, Mary?
I have a question. How did you let this get so friggin' complicated? Yet we sat here meeting after meeting and we listened to Hudson and Etler tell us how it's done. And you have a drainage district, and everybody that's a contractor gets paid in warrants, and they can do what they want with the warrants. In this case, since you made this deal with the banks, they would have to understand if they go to one of those 4 banks to cash them. What is so complicated?
We can't force them to do that, though. We can't force the contractor to, if we give them a warrant, we can't force them to go to that bank. We're trying to help the banks in Cedar County and keep the money in Cedar County is what we're trying to do.
I understand that, but do you think there's anybody that deliberately would not?
Oh,
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yes, I do. Yep.
Really?
Yep. I think the attorney and the engineer both would do it. The attorney, first of all, basically said he would. He'd sell them to whoever he wanted to.
If they can cash flow it in their own organization, they'll turn around and buy them back themselves because they're making 5% on their own money.
Yep, that's right.
Well, and the other thing is when you went out to bid, you went out based on a cash basis rather than on the warrant basis.
Right.
Yep.
So we were gonna get better pricing because it was gonna be on a cash basis instead of these warrants. The contractors will charge you more to do the work based on the fact that they have to jump through the hoop to sell the warrant. So that's where they were hoping for the cost savings. But yeah, the other thing is we got conflicting opinions from your engineering firm too. One minute they tell us it's okay to do that, the next minute they come back and they tell us, no, you can't do that. So that's where they're running into a little more of a problem with it.
Do you feel in hindsight that you, and of course Don wasn't on board, do the rest of you feel in hindsight that it would have been better to set up a drainage district board totally separate from you
Yeah,
guys?
we would have, but they won't take it.
Who won't take
The
what?
Stanwood Drainage people. That's the only ones that can take it. You can't be on that because you don't own property in Stanwood Drainage District. It's either the
I
Board
don't
of
wanna be
Supervisors.
on it.
It's either the Board of Supervisors or it's the people in the Stanwood Drainage District. And we offered it to them, but they would not take it. So we are obligated to do it.
And you couldn't have refused?
Nope.
No.
Nope. Okay, any more discussion? There is no more discussion. We adjourn back to regular session. I'd entertain a motion.
So moved.
Okay, the motion been made by Gallagher. Second that motion.
Second.
Second by Bell. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're back in regular session. Connie Knudsen. How are you?
Hello, fine. Is that okay if I sit? I've been standing teaching all day, so I'm going to pull a cheater here, okay? I'm trying not to take up much of your time because I know you have lots of things on the thing, but I always like to share what we've been doing in the medical examiner's office for the last year. So if you'd like to pass those around. Just to give you an idea, kind of where we're at, maybe I have to ask Bev quick. The paper that I sent last week with the budget thing, is that what's going to be approved today, or I need to present that today?
Did you send it to me?
I sent it to you, but I have one change. So should I use these, or did you already approve it? It's not a change in the.
No, we haven't approved anything.
Okay, it's not in a change in the amount. It's just a change of how it's. I have plenty.
Oh.
That it's
No, I
how it's
printed out.
distributed.
I
Okay,
printed out.
all right. I'll go ahead and pass that to. Oh, I'll keep one for myself there, Brad. Thank you. Well, there'll be extras.
Most people don't remember to do it.
Yes. Thank you. As a review off of this sheet, Dawn, because you're new, I'll just kind of quick allude to the reason that there's a couple sheets is that allows you to go back and see the trend that we've done. For this year, if you look at your second page, you can see in 2013-14 fiscal year in the last column that we were down just a bit with the number of deaths in Cedar County. We had 22 of those 17 were natural deaths. And then I broke it on down into cardiac and lung, that sort of thing. Of those, one of them had alcohol as a contributing factor, not necessarily in the main cause of death, but with the lifestyle. They have us now put that in there if that person suffers from alcoholism, and it did make a difference in, their cardiac condition and that sort of thing as it transpired. The other thing, we had approximately 5 smokers in that reign too, and that's another thing that they're now putting on the death certificates as to whether or not they're a smoker. Okay, the age has decreased considerably, and I I hate to see that, but yeah, it's not a happy thing. But and if you go back, it was in the 60s. Every year except for last year, but we had a lot of really elderly people that passed away last year that ended up being medical examiner cases. Those cases are those that are unattended, unexpected, that sort of thing. We had a couple accidental deaths. We had a motor vehicle accident, and then we had an ATV accident. And again, you're already aware from previous years that, the ATV, that was, I think, our 5th or 6th in 3 years, so it's been kind of sad. Just because also I'm involved in the MS Association, we are actually having someone come in and speak at our conference this year on ATV accidents. I don't know if there's a prevention method or not, but it's something that we're going to address as far as how to handle those and maybe help do some public education or something that will help that. As far as suicide, we had 3 this year. Let me back up one second. With accidental deaths, the average age there, when you have just 2 or 3 people, it's kind of hard to. But our ATV accident was a 19-year-old, and our motor vehicle accident was a 64-year-old, and that did involve alcohol in that one also. Suicide, again, we had 3. One was with a gun that was witnessed by wife or significant other, and then we had 2 overdoses. Okay, the years, again, it's kind of hard to say are they relevant or not, just because there's so few, to compare with. But we keep on that 0 side of homicides. I'm really glad for that. As far as contributing factors go, alcohol and drugs, I'd like you to just change that number to 4, if you would. I redid a count, and because it's July to July, I was counting January to January. So, and one of those, again, was the medical, 1 was the motor vehicle, and 2 for the overdoses. Okay. As far as autopsies that we only had 6 this year. That's really good. I try to keep it down as low as I can. Of all of these deaths, we would have had a number of 29, I believe. We had 5 that I could decline jurisdiction for, and that helped us a lot, especially like with the autopsies, they're going in that vein. We did have a fetus that was involved in this particular year. However, because the fetus was earlier than 20 weeks, we did not have to do an autopsy. So that was, irrelevant. Even though I got called and went out and investigated, we did not have to pursue anything with it, as far as countywide, costs and that sort of thing. So, as far as our caseload goes, 33 was the total number of deaths that were investigated, and that includes the 22 that we did in county. One of those, one also, we did a non-resident case. In other words, what that means is that in Iowa, we are allowed to bill any other county in Iowa for death investigation. However, we can't bill anyone outside of Iowa. We can only bill in-state. And I think Iowa still, there's only, I want to say 5 or 6 states that have that yet. So I kind of think that hanging on to that isn't a bad idea, especially when we get the interstate situations that we do occasionally, So, and then of course outside Cedar County, those are other counties that had cases that billed us. And of those, there were only 3 autopsies in those, out of the 10 cases that perhaps someone got transported to the hospital and then died and it was unexpected. Then we would have a lot of times maybe blood work or something that comes back, or the medical examiner has to investigate it because it's still an unexpected death, even though resuscitation was tried en route to the hospital, that sort of thing. So that's what involves that. And so to give you an idea, bottom line, as for the fiscal budget, we had $45,000 budgeted. We only used 87%. I was pleased with that, giving us, $5,456.86 that was unused. We did get revenues in for one case of the ATV accident. Was a gentleman, a 19-year-old, was from Waterloo. So we were able to bill Black Hawk County for that, so we did retrieve that back. So that was a good thing. And then if you just add those 2 together, this is kind of my simple figures. It doesn't have anything much to do sometimes with your reports, but it lets us know that, our bottom line was we only spent $35,000. I was really tickled with that, keeping it down where we wanted to keep it. So, just to give you an idea, to let you know that, and I probably have to get you a new letter because I just found this out the other day. David Askelson is retiring, and he won't be on the team anymore. David wasn't able to help a lot because he lived in Iowa City, so in the evening it wasn't feasible. We try to have somebody on scene as quickly as possible. We pick the closest person, when they call me, and then he was in the daytime, he would be in the clinic, so it wasn't always feasible that he was able to go. But and again, just to give you an idea, this year we are right at 6 cases. I had the 6th case yesterday, and that's way down. It's usually 12 to 13 cases by now. So it would, I guess. But yeah, that's down. And just to, I just grabbed this quick, meaning that right now we've only spent 5,800 so far this year. So that's really excellent.
Got a little bit more on ours. As of the 15th or 13th, it shows 6732, but it's
yeah,
not nearly like in past years.
So anyway, on your other sheet, what I'd like you to consider, I think, as we've discussed before, there's really, very hard for us to think about the ME budget and knowing, what's going to be spent or not spent. It all depends if we have a 5 fatality accident on the interstate. We just hope that never happens. But I just would recommend keeping it the same as we've been doing. Of that, what I did on this sheet for you is that I mapped out what I thought we might spend or divided it up according to the medical examinations and then the training that we go to, mileage and lodging. I used Bev's reports to help me figure out what would normally spent. The stipend for the chief and the deputy MEs, that is new. I just think that they've never advertised this much because I don't want to do it for a lot of towns, and a lot of counties. And so they've done it for us as a special favor for 16 years now at absolutely no charge whatsoever. This last year, I spent a great deal of time with them with the new, we had to go computer with the death certificates. There are no longer any paper death certificates. Oh, they come across their desk, I had all the work done, all they had to do was sign it and send it on. And it's now everything is in the computer, and yeah, it's a good thing. However, they had to attend training. I had to spend time going up and training them. This was all above and beyond them at their desk, listening to what I had to say about this case, and yeah, I agree, sign it, go. I just felt that I would like to do that for them. And I may, if our funds stay okay, by the end of this year, I will probably come back in May and ask to use some of the money that's left and do that this year, for them. There are 5 of them, and it's not much, I know, for them, but I would really like to do that. I have to get together with them, of course, and see how they have to map it out for their, the pathology department at St. Luke's, or if we can just give them individual checks as contractors, that sort of thing. So you can talk about that or consider it, or if you think it's something that's,
Would this head off increases in fees by them, or
Okay.
Would this head off increases in fees by them for the autopsies, or it's probably
no,
totally
that's
different?
totally different. That's from the pathology
Right.
department itself. Yeah.
So this would just be a
This
goodwill
would just be
gesture.
just for those physicians that are doing all of this for nothing. They don't get, they get their salaries, but they don't get, anything extra if they do autopsies for us. They don't get anything from that. They just get their regular salary. St. Luke's is the one that increased the cost of the autopsies. And we still stayed below, so I was tickled with that, but you never know, So, anyway, it's, again, the cost is the same. I just distributed it a little bit different, and,
Well, I'd say you come back there later on in the year, we see how your finances are, and go
Yeah,
from there.
exactly. So,
Have
but
you got somebody to replace Dr. Askelson?
yeah, this would be for next year, but this year I don't know. If we run amok and we use it all, we use it all. And I haven't said anything to them about this because I wanted to make sure that you felt the same, or that you had questions or anything I could answer. But they've just done it all these years and never ever complained. And Dr. Buck, who started it with me, I had known him through EMS and a few other lab work and stuff that I'd gone down and talked to them about, and with EMS patients. And so then when I went to him and asked him what his suggestion would be, he says, I'll take care of it. I'll do it for nothing. You just get your budget and keep it so that you guys can operate. And I'm like, wow. And it's been that way. He retired about 8 years ago, and they're still, Dr. Mackey is still maintaining that, and not, they don't do it for any other county, just so you know. And they do medical examiner work for other counties, so I don't want to, bite the hand that feeds the face, or whatever you want to say, but I just thought that it would be a nice gesture for us, for appreciation, even if you felt that it should be a one-time thing because of the training and stuff. That's up to you. That's certainly up to you. So.
I think Wayne was asking if you found a replacement for the gentleman that was retiring.
Have we found who?
A replacement for the person
Askelson.
who's retiring.
No, mostly because he didn't go on hardly any cases. He's probably gone on 4 in the last 16 years.
Oh.
So, yeah,
okay.
yeah, he had a real hard time. He was on the list in case we had a disaster and he could come help. But with his clinic in the daytime, he couldn't leave there. And then he lived in Iowa City, so it would be 45 minutes to an hour before he would get to the far side of the county. Right now we have a person in each corner of the county, except for the southwest, and I'm only 20 minutes from there, so it works really well right now. So.
The only thing I could say about paying that, basically I look at it as a bonus to them doctors,
yes.
For the autopsies,
yeah.
is what's going to happen if they raise the rates to us, and are we still going to give them a bonus?
Well, that's up to you. I don't know.
It's a touchy subject.
That's why I said I haven't said anything, because I'm not sure. I don't know, like I said, maybe it would be a one-time fee. Maybe we should just consider it this year, not, just keep the same one that I'd already turned into her without that delineated, because I don't know. But you have to remember, St. Luke's they send us the fees for autopsies. These doctors don't get that. They don't get a raise in their fees because of the autopsy goes up. It's a hospital business versus this would be more of a thank you. I don't know. If they start charging us for these cases, you're going to look at another $300 a case times 30 cases. You're looking at $9,000 more dollars, and they've never charged us that. So I don't know.
But are they working for the hospital though? See, so the hospital's getting the extra money, and if they raise their rates, the hospital's going to get the money. They're still getting their wages. The doctors are, correct?
Yeah. Well, from the hospital, they don't get extra because they help us. They sneak our work in.
Oh, they sneak it in?
Well, basically, that's not a good word to use, I know, in public, but basically they do it on the side. They when I come in.
They aren't doing this through the hospital?
They're doing it through the pathology department.
Okay.
And the pathology department is not charging us to do this.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
If we do it through St. Luke's, they charge us. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. And so that's what I was thinking. But like I said, maybe you feel more comfortable just doing a one-shot, thing for the training and stuff that they've gone through this year and had extra hours they had to put in for that. Most of the time it's, I've walked in and I've had everything laid out and they have to sign a couple things, but it's not been so bad because I'm really pretty up on what. I even list the cause of death and stuff. I got it pretty narrowed down to what this person died of before I even go into them. So, unless there's an autopsy that they have to do, but then they're paid for that separate. That's part of their hospital work. But what they do for us, they do on the side, just as part of their normal day. But it takes away from their normal work that they might have to stay later to finish what. The pathology wants them to do.
Well, that's the fact they're doing that for us is probably a reflection of the quality of help and preparation that you're giving them.
I hope. They've really been wonderful about it.
Sounds like it.
Lynn County, they did Lynn County's as deputy medical examiners for Lynn County, and they actually got paid for that from the Lynn County medical examiners, and they quit. So evidently there was, I don't know, maybe too many hours, of doing everything, but they kept the one that they were doing. And I think maybe you're right that I have it all laid out and there's, they don't question it. They don't question it at all. So
what's the board's wish? You want her to come back later on and see how her budget is?
Yeah, that's
I
fine.
think that'd be great, Connie.
If you would,
That'd be a good
I
idea.
already had given her one without it delineated here for the future years, so maybe you'd rather prove that one for your budget purposes, and then we'll just see year to year if it works
Yeah.
out or not, you know.
Well, you have just one line item in that budget.
Yeah, we just have one line item. and we
Oh,
don't break
it isn't,
down.
you don't need this, oh,
No.
I thought you needed it.
Well, it's nice to have it, to see where it goes.
Yeah, but lets you kinda know that
Yep.
what I try to keep it at anyway, you know, so that, and if, you know, one person goes to training one year, another person goes the next year, and, you know, try to keep it in fairness that way too, so.
Okay.
Okay?
Thanks, Connie.
You're
Thank you,
welcome,
Connie.
thank you, thank you. Get back to the lecture hall.
Yeah.
Oh my God, look
Hi,
who's
Connie.
here.
How are you doing?
You can't have any, I took all the money.
That doesn't take much, does it?
Dave?
Hey there.
Oops, I'm sorry, hit you in the face. My ropes here.
You got a few moments? I'll just take a quick.
Yeah, we got about 5 minutes.
Do you? All right. Well, I gotta apologize. I just got back from Tucson here late last week, so I'm jumping from time zone to time zone, but Stanwood is not in a different time zone. And I gotta apologize for missing your time slot this morning. But if you remember, I wasn't at the board meeting, so of course the communication didn't get over to me. But anyway, I guess I could tell you just a few things of what we have going on and what's cooking. Of course, we've got a schedule pretty much set coming up for our upcoming fair in July. We're going to start releasing little tidbits out on our Facebook page. We have close to, well, somewhere between 950 and 1,000 followers on our Facebook page, so we can use that to our advantage for advertising what we've got going on at our fair and some of the entertainment that we have coming. A few things to look back at last year. Of course, we had a bad day on Saturday, which has prompted us when the latest convention that we attended in December here of investigating rain insurance. Yeah, you know, they've had event cancellation insurance for years, but certain things had to fall into place, and we felt it wasn't, you know, to our best interest to utilize that. Now, in talking to an individual, I believe their company's out of Kansas City, but they do a lot of work up here with the Lynn County Fair and area fairs with rain insurance. That might have been very beneficial for us this past year to help us through the year, because of course we come out in the red a little bit at the end of our year, end of our fiscal year. But anyway, right now we'll know some other things on the in front of the board is we're looking at possibility of hosting the high school rodeo finals coming this year and next year. We'll know for sure come February 9th. We'll know from those people they were having a little difficulty finding a spot. So what we're looking at, what I'm pushing the board for is to utilize our fairgrounds for more things other than an occasional cattle show, renting out the Matthews building, floral hall, and then your races, of course. That's also on front of the board at this point. We're in negotiation phase with a new promoter for our racetrack out there. But we're looking at other things to utilize our fairgrounds with. We have an event planned already June 6th, I believe. I believe the first Saturday in June. We'll have a truck and tractor pull out there with a semi-truck show. So there's things that we're striving to utilize those grounds with to help us along. And some of the improvements taking place currently, we're finishing up refurbishing those block bathrooms that are right by the grandstands. That'll be finished hopefully in the next week or so. And if you looked at the floral hall out there, we had the cupola redone last year, and if you've seen that at night, it was a beautiful sight because the lights were on inside and it just glowed up there with all the new windows, so forth. But we had the building repainted. You know, people donated their time and repainted that. We just have the one spot in between that needs care, and that's the roof, the main roof sections of that, and we're working on that currently. Randy Schumacher is re-steeling sections of that roof. So we do have things going on out there. We're entering into our next FFA is, I should say, this time of year for advertising, so we'll get out and be beating the bushes for that. But that's just some of the things that we have going on. We really do appreciate your guys' support for out there at that fair. That makes that a lot of that stuff happen, and what we're aiming for is having a nice, safe event for the 4-H and FFA youth out there. There's many things. If you haven't gotten out there, to see, there's many other things to see on that fairgrounds than just at the Matthews Building or just in front of the grandstands. There's several other things go to, get to their exhibits and so forth. But we do appreciate that support. I know last year we'd asked for if we could get about a 1,500 increase if that's possible. You see it in yourself to do that. But like I said, we do appreciate any of the support. I see Tim had walked in, and that had reminded me, sitting on my desktop on my computer, we're currently working on an emergency management plan. We're modeling it after Lynn County Fair. If you go to their website, they actually post it right on their website. Well, I got their permission to use that, and all I'm doing now is going through that page by page and utilizing some of the things that they've got and inserting names and making changes there. I will get, Tim and I believe, have talked about this, and we will sit down and look that over before I make a copy of. Once we get the board approval, I make that copy available to you folks. So I'm hoping.
But what we need from you is the figures for the budget and everything, and the figures from the.
Yes.
So what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to reset a schedule with Bev.
Okay.
She's got some time, next Tuesday? Is there some time?
This Thursday, I have to have
Thursday?
time at 2:45.
At 2:45?
2:45 Thursday?
I might be able to make that. I have a run with volunteer services that day. Linda called me yesterday. She had actually like 3 of them.
She said
and I took
behind
2
you.
of
She
them.
said she don't need you that day.
She
Karen says she don't want you that day.
She don't want me.
Or Tuesday at 2:30.
I have to be in Cedar Rapids at 9:15, but so that afternoon thing would work.
Thursday or Tuesday?
No. You said Thursday?
Thursday
at
This
2:45.
At what time?
2:45.
2:45.
We'll put you
We'll do
down
that.
so you can bring your figures in and everything.
Yes,
at that
because we
time.
do have the approved budget, and that was one thing when I was sitting there thinking, you know what, I could have just stopped by my computer, but I would went from pulling pigs from a gilt to a haircut and straight down here.
Okay,
So it's
we'll
been,
see you Thursday then, 2:45.
I'll bring a copy of that budget in for you
Okay.
folks so you can
Yep.
see that. And if you have any questions in between now and then, I'd be more than happy to answer it for you. So.
Thank you, Dave.
Thanks.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Karen, are you having more people come in?
No, it's just myself.
Okay.
I've had to run today.
Rob, could we take Karen first and then take
Oh,
Karen?
that's fine. You want to call me? When
Yeah, we'll call you.
That's
Is that
fine.
okay?
No problem.
You'll be here, won't you?
Yep, I hope.
Okay. So we'll jump down and take Karen on volunteer services, and then we'll go back up to Rob.
Yeah, he's texting. Hold on, Brad. We'll smile and put it on. That's great. Okay. Do you want one, Sue? Okay. Thank you. There are 2 components of what I have for you. The first is the board-approved budget. The actual figures are there in the left-hand column. The good news was we had a profit last year of $458, and we got lucky because in June, Heritage, who sponsors us as one of our things, had extra money left over, and they have to have a completely balanced budget. So they actually had like $10,000 they needed to get rid of, and so I got on the computer and said, we take 1,000 of it. So instead of being 542 in the hole, we came out 458 ahead.
Good.
So actual figures are there. Projected out is 83,140, which is about a 2.5%. And that's kind of the figure that as the fiscal committee met, that we would hope, to try to be able to make some growth and sustain where we're at that time. Last year we did not ask for a request. You'll see the 22,000 remain the same. If possible, this year would be great to have a $1,000 increase. If not, smile and I'll do some other grant writing. We'll do some other things to make sure we're up and going.
as we took a look at asking, okay, this year we were able to receive more money from the United Way, so that was about a $1,700 increase. As the fiscal committee looked, it's like, okay, this might be a possibility with the Board of Supervisors for the next projected year, and the following one we should be able to make that up with Heritage. Goal is not to ask again next year, just to smile and say we're in a good place. If you take a look at the next page, there we have the fiscal year totals. The first column tells you how many miles that our drivers put on their vehicles. It was 44,987. Thank you, Mr. who just went out the door. He's a part of that. The volunteers themselves donated 2,778 and a half hours of their own personal time. The two vans logged in 7,022 miles. The van drivers donated 491 3/4 of an hour, and we provided 2,061 hours of respite. If you take a look at the totals to current at the bottom for this first half of the fiscal year, we're ahead in car miles. We're close to van miles. Our hours for car miles are ahead, and our respite totals are right at the halfway mark, so we should hit all of those totals that we had last year, slightly exceed them. I did heritage reports, and right now we have helped 77 individuals get to their medical appointments, whether it be by car or by van, with the youngest that we helped out this past year being 47 and the oldest 106 years old. So we have quite the spread. Demographically, we have helped more females this past year, and unfortunately guys, they just have a tendency to live a little bit longer. That allows for that.
Because we take care of them so long.
There you go. I like that one. I haven't heard that one before. So
you wear us out.
Yes.
Does anybody, other supervisors show that, I think you're funding them at $22,500 rather than $22,000?
Okay, my apologies.
I just bring it up because it might.
So you're only asking for $500 more.
See, it's a bargain.
There you go. Sorry.
Does anybody else agree with that?
I haven't got my book on.
We paid them 50. We pay them 4 payments. We paid them 2 in the amount of $5,625.
Okay. So then I only want $500. Even better.
Well, then you can go down there.
And
gas is way down. You can cut them expenses more.
That is amazing. As you're all smiling over that one as well. Brett, can I borrow your pen?
Sure. Well, I think you guys serve a good purpose for the county, and you know the hours that the people put in on that, using their own vehicles also. You know, it's very worthwhile for the county. Do a good service.
It's a great program.
It is. We're very proud of it.
Yes, the request is
23 even.
Okay, is there any questions or comments for Karen? Thank you, Karen.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming in.
Have a great one, guys.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Really good job of calling.
When you do routes, I need to stop the recorder and go into closed session and start recording. They're ready.
See how the software may, the counting and the software may come together so that we can make that solutions if the software comes in place.
Oh, you know it's true. You guys all have good women. They always say behind every great man there was even Have you met Vicky?
I'm ignoring it.
Yeah, you did.
I'm an expert ignorer.
I don't know, maybe she's the expert.
Probably.
We add up what all the bid amounts were,
Mm-hmm.
and we ask for the banks. The banks gives them to us.
Well.
And
That's a big hole to fall in.
and then we issue out a check.
I'm gonna go home and tell Jill what you said.
You do that. And she'll say, I knew I voted for her for a reason.
Oh, yeah.
Brad,
be a handful.
Good afternoon, Ralph.
How you doing?
Good.
You're up.
Went and pursued our potential shop purchase further, and would like to discuss the options on that in closed session, please.
Okay.
Nothing personal.
Are you still anticipating 15 minutes that you'll need?
I hope so.
Okay.
If not, they might send me out the window.
Closed session subject to chapter 21.51J.
Okay, the motion's been made by Bell. Is there a second that motion?
I'll say.
Second by Smith. Roll call. Bell.
Aye.
Smith.
Aye.
Gal.
Aye.
Kaufman.
Aye.
And Dearborn Aye. We're in closed session at 3:07.
Shutting off, okay.
Yep. Wait till the reporter comes in. Wait till Mary comes in with her oxygen. Okay, out of the closed session, is there any decision made? Does anybody want to make a motion?
I move we have the attorney draw up an offer, work with Rob on drawing up an offer on the proposed property and see if that is okay for acceptance.
Okay, the motion's been made by Bell. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Second by Kaufman. Any discussion? Roll call. Bell.
Aye.
Kaufman.
Aye.
Smith.
Aye.
Gal.
Aye.
And Dearborn Aye. Did you get your answer?
All right.
Okay, thanks, Rob.
Thank you.
I'll see you, Rob.
Okay, is there anything else coming from the meeting? Do you have something else, Bev?
Don't believe so.
Okay, anything else coming from the meeting? There is nothing else. I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, motion been made by Gal. Is there a second that motion?
Second.
Second by Kaufman. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. We're adjourned. On a Thursday morning, 8:30.
See you Thursday.